Athene, goddess of the flashing eyes, now prompted the wise Penelope, Icarius' daughter, to confront the suitors in the palace with the bow and the axes of great iron that were to be a test of their skill and the instruments of their destruction. She went upstairs to her room, and with her strong hand picked up a well-made bronze key with an ivory handle. She then made her way with her ladies to a storeroom in a distant corner of the palace, where her lord's treasure was kept. Bronze, gold, and wrought iron. Here, too, was the supple bow and quiver full of deadly arrows, which had been given to him by his friend, the godlike Hephaestus, Eurytus' son, when they met in Lacedaemon. The two came across each other at the house of the shrewd Ortilochus in Messene. Odysseus had come over to recover a public debt, some Messenians having stolen 300 sheep from Ithaca, and their shepherds too, and carried them off in their many-oared ships. This was the business that brought Odysseus so far afield, though a mere boy at the time. His father and the other elders had entrusted him with this mission. Hello, Mango. What's going on? You want to be in the Odyssey? Yeah? Mango, personal space, maybe. I do not need your face right in my face. Hephaestus, for his part, had come in search of a dozen mares he had lost, with their sturdy little mules at foot. In the event, these horses led to his death in a fatal encounter with Heracles, the lion-hearted son of Zeus, and hero of the mighty labours, for Heracles killed him in his own house. Though he was Hephaestus' host, caring no more in that cruel heart of his for the vengeful eye of the gods than for the hospitality he had given him, feasted the man first, then killed him, and appropriated the large hooved mares, keeping them in his own palace stables. It was on his quest for these animals that Hephaestus met Odysseus, and gave him the bow, which in years gone by the great Eurytus, his father, had carried and at his death bequeathed to him in his lofty palace. Stop getting in my face, little girl. It's very difficult to read when you've got a little ginger miss straight in your face. Yeah. In return, Odysseus gave Hephaestus a sharp sword and a strong spear as a token of a warm friendship. But before the two could meet as host and guest, the son of Zeus had killed the heroic Hephaestus, the giver of the bow. This bow Odysseus never took on to his black ships with him when he sailed to the war, but laid it up at home in memory of a treasured friend, though he used it on his own estate. The great lady reached the storeroom and set foot on the oaken threshold, the work of some carpenter of bygone days, who had smoothed it well and trued it to the line, fixed the doorposts in their sockets, and hung the polished doors on them. She quickly undid the thong attached to the hook, passed the key through the hole, and with an accurate thrust shot back the bolt, with a groan like a roar of a bull at grass in meadow. The doors flew open before her, and she stepped onto the raised floorboards. Here stood the chests where clothing was laid in scented herbs. Reaching up, Penelope lifted the bow in the shining case off its peg, and there she sat down with the case on her knees and burst into tears, and wept aloud as she drew out her husband's bow. But when the torrent of tears had brought its own relief, she set out for the hall to face the proud suitors, carrying the supple bow and the quiver with its deadly load of arrows in her hands, and her women followed with a box full of the iron and bronze axes that their master had won as prizes. When she drew near to the suitors, the great lady drew a fold of her shining veil across her cheeks, and took a stand by a pillar of the massive roof, with a faithful maid on either side. Then she issued her challenge to the suitors. Listen, proud suitors. You have exploited this house in the long absence of its master, as the scene of your endless eating and drinking, and you could offer no better pretext for your conduct than your wish to win my hand in marriage. Come forward now, my gallant lords. The prize stands before you, I shall now place the great bow of the godlike Odysseus in front of you. Whoever strings the bow most easily and shoots an arrow through every one of these 12 axes, with that man I will go, bidding goodbye to this house which welcomed me as a bride, this lovely house so full of all good things, this home that even in my dreams I shall never forget." She then turned to the good swineherd Eumaeus and told him to hand over the bow and the iron axes to the suitors. "Why are you rubbing your face all over my book? And do not nibble it, little one." As he took them from her and set them down, Eumaeus burst into tears, and the cowman beyond him also began sobbing when he saw his master's bow. Antinous turned on them with abuse. "You snivelling peasants," he exclaimed, "who can't see further than your noses, you miserable pair. What are you standing there for, snivelling and upsetting your mistress, as though the loss of her beloved husband weren't painful enough? Sit down and eat your food in silence, or else clear out of here and cry outside. But leave the bow where it is, the bow that will seal our fate." Foreboding. "I don't think that polished bow will prove easy to string. There's not a man in this whole company like Odysseus. I saw him myself, I remember it well, though I was only a child at the time." In spite of what he said, Antinous nursed a secret hope that he himself might string the bow and shoot through all the iron rings. In fact, he was to be the first to sample an arrow from the hands of the peerless Odysseus, whom, sitting there in the palace, he was insulting and encouraging all his friends to do the same. But the great Telemachus broke in. "Extraordinary! Zeus seems to have taken away my wits. My dear mother in her wisdom says she will leave this house to marry again. And here I am, smiling and chuckling to myself like a witless idiot. Well, gentlemen, step forward. Here is your prize. A lady whose like you will not find today in all Achaea. No, not in sacred Pylos, nor in Argos, nor in Mycenae, nor in Ithaca itself, nor on the dark mainland. But you know this well enough. What need for me to sing my mother's praises? So come along, no false excuses or long delays, string the bow, and then we'll see. I shouldn't mind trying myself. And if I string the bow and shoot an arrow through the axes, I won't be too upset if my mother says goodbye to this house and goes away with another man, leaving me here, as I'll know that at last I'm capable of winning the fine prizes my father won." As he finished speaking, Telemachus leapt from his seat, thrust the purple cloak off his shoulders and removed the sword hanging there. He proceeded to dig a single long trench for all the axes, then he planted them in it, getting them exactly in line, and stamped down the earth around them. The men watching could not help admiring the neat way in which he set them up, though he had never seen it done before. Then he took his stance on the threshold and tried the bow. 3 times he made it quiver in his efforts to bend it. 3 times his strength failed, though he still hoped to succeed in stringing it and shooting through the iron rings. And the 4th time he put such pressure on the bow that he might well have strung it yet, if Odysseus had not put an end to his attempts with a shake of his head. "Damn it," the great Telemachus exclaimed. "I suppose I shall always be a coward and a weakling. Or perhaps I'm too young, not sure enough yet of my own strength to defend myself against anyone who may care to pick a quarrel with me. Well, sirs, it is now up to you, who are stronger men than I. Let's get the contest settled." With this, he put the bow down on the ground, propping the tip against the polished woodwork of the door, with the arrow resting against the beautiful door handle. Then he resumed his seat. Antinous, Eupeithes' son, called out, "Come forward, friends, one by one from left to right, beginning from where the wine is poured." This was agreed, with the result that the first man to get up was Laodes, son of Oenops, who used to officiate at their sacrifices and always sat by the great wine bowl in the far corner. Unlike the rest, he abhorred the suitors' recklessness, and their conduct filled him with indignation. Rising now to take the first turn, he picked up the bow and arrow, took his stand on the threshold and tried the bow. But long before he could string it, the effort of bending it tired out his delicate, unhardened hands. He turned to the suitors. "My friends, I cannot string it. Let the next man try. Believe me, this bow will break the heart and spirit of many a champion here, yet it is far better to die than to live on without ever winning the prize that lures us all here every day and keeps us always hoping. As it is, some of you are hoping and longing to marry Odysseus' wife, Penelope. Let them try the bow and see. They'll soon be courting and laying their gifts at the feet of some other long-robed Achaean woman, and so Penelope will be able to marry the man who offers most and is her destined husband." Leodes relinquished the bow, propping the tip against the polished woodwork of the door, with the arrow leaning against the beautiful door handle, and so resumed his seat. But Antinous took him to task with asperity. "Leodes, what a preposterous speech! It's a monstrous suggestion, which I strongly resent, that this bow will break the heart and spirit of many a champion here, just because you cannot string it yourself. It's clear that your good mother didn't bring you into the world to string bows and shoot arrows. However, there are others in this noble company who will string it soon enough." Then he turned to Melanthius, the goatherd. "Look sharp, Melanthius," he ordered, "and make a fire in the hall. Draw up a big stool with a fleece on it, and bring a large round of tallow from the stores, so that we young men can warm and grease the bow before we try it, and settle the match." Melanthius quickly made up the fire, which was still glowing, drew up a stool on which he spread a fleece, and fetched a large round of tallow from the store. The young men greased the bow with the hot tallow, tried their best, but failed to string it. They were not nearly strong enough. Antinous, however, and Eurymachus, of the godlike looks, held back for the time being, though they were the leaders of the party and by far the best men in it. If they're the best men, God! Meanwhile, the cowman and the swineherd of the noble Odysseus had joined forces and slipped out of the house. Odysseus himself followed them out, and when they had passed through the door and the courtyard, he called out, "Cowman, swineherd," and then proceeded tactfully to sound them out. "Shall I speak out, or shall I hold my tongue? No, I feel I must speak. If it came to fighting for Odysseus, what line would you men take? Supposing he were to turn up from somewhere, suddenly, brought back by some god, would you be on the suitor's side or his? I think that's a stupid question. Tell me which way your real feelings lie." "Father Zeus," the cowman said, "hear my prayer. May some power lead him home. You'd soon know my strength and the power of my right arm. I mean, he's already told you that." And Eumaeus added a prayer to all the gods that the wise Odysseus might see his home again. Odysseus, thus assured of their genuine feelings, said, "Well, here I am. Yes, I myself, home again, in my own country, in the 20th year after much suffering. I know that you are the only two of all my men who will be glad to see me back, for I have not heard a single one of the others put up a prayer for my return. So I'm going to tell you two exactly what the future holds for you. If the powers above let me overthrow these arrogant suitors, I'll find you each a wife, give you possessions, and build you houses near to mine, and from that day I shall regard you both as Telemachus' friends and brothers. I will now show you something as positive proof so that you can be absolutely sure in your hearts who I am. It is this scar, where I was struck by a boar's tusk when I went to Parnassus with Autolycus' sons." As he spoke, he drew his rags aside and exposed the long scar. The two men looked and examined it carefully. Then, weeping, they flung their arms round wise Odysseus' neck and showered kisses on his head and shoulders. Odysseus in turn kissed their heads and hands, and the sun would have gone down on their weeping Had not Odysseus himself checked them? "Stop crying," he said. "This is a lot more tender than you were with your fucking wetness." "Stop crying," he said. "Oh, hi, Mango. Again. Let me read this. Stop crying," he said, "or someone coming from the hall may see us and tell the people indoors. Go in now, one after the other, not together. I shall go first, and you must follow. And here's your cue. The others, those fine suitors, will refuse to let me have the bow and quiver. When that happens, good Eumaeus, bring the bow down the hall and put it in my hands. Also, tell the women to lock the tight-fitting door which leads to their rooms, and say that if they hear groans or any other noise from the men's part of the palace, they are not to stir from their quarters, but to stay quietly where they are and get on with their work. The job of bolting and barring the courtyard gate I give to you, good Philotius. Fasten it tight." When he had given them these instructions, Odysseus went back into the stately palace and sat down on the stool he had recently left. The two servants of the godlike Odysseus followed him in. By now the bow had come into the hands of Eurymachus, who was turning it round and round in front of the glowing fire to warm it. But he failed to string it for all that, and he groaned from the depth of his proud heart. "Damnation take the thing," he cried in his rage. "I feel this bitterly, not for myself alone, but for us all. I'm not upset so much about the marriage, though that is a bitter blow. There are plenty of women left in sea-girt Ithaca and in other towns. What does grieve me is the thought that our failure with his bow proves us such weaklings compared with the godlike Odysseus. You're an asshole. The disgrace will stick to our names forever." But Antinous, Eupeithes' son, protested. "Eurymachus, it won't be like that, and you know it. Today is a public holiday in honour of the god. Is that a time for bending bows? Put the thing down and forget it. And why not leave the axes standing where they are? I'm sure nobody's going to break into the palace of Laertes' son and steal them. Come, let the wine steward go round and pour a little into each cup. We'll make our libations. Oh, look, they do the libations. And give the archery a rest. And tomorrow tell the goat-herd Melanthius to bring in the very best goats from all his flocks, so that we can sacrifice thigh bones to the great archer, Apollo, and then try the bow and see who wins." This was very much to their liking. Accordingly, their squires came and sprinkled their hands with water, and the pages filled the mixing bowls to the brim with drink. And then, after first pouring a little into each man's cup, served them all with wine. When they had made their libations and satisfied their thirst, the crafty Odysseus came out with a wily suggestion. "Listen to me, suitors of our famous queen, and let me tell you what I feel I must. And my plea is particularly directed to Eurymachus and godlike Antinous, who spoke so sensibly. Lay aside the bow for the moment, and leave the issue to the gods. Tomorrow the archer-god will grant his favourite the strength to win. Meanwhile, just pass me the polished bow, so that while you watch I can test the strength of my hands and find out whether there's any power left in these limbs that were once so supple, or whether the privations of a roving life have robbed me of it all by now." His request enraged them beyond measure, for they really feared he might string the bow, and Antinous turned on him in a fury. "Miserable intruder, you're quite out of your mind. Can't you be content to dine in peace with your betters, to get your share of every dish, and to listen to our talk, which no other visitor or tramp is privileged to hear? This mellow wine has got to you. It's the downfall of any man who gulps it down instead of drinking in moderation. Remember Eurytion and the famous centaur? It was the wine that stupefied him in brave Pirithous' palace during his visit to the Lapithae. Stupefied with drink, he perpetrated that outrage in Pirithous' very home. His hosts leaped up in anger, dragged him to the porch, and threw him out the doors, but not before they had ruthlessly sliced his ears and nose off with a knife. He staggered away stupefied, carrying the burden of his folly in his darkened mind. That was the beginning of the feud between centaurs and men. But he was the first to suffer, and he brought his troubles on himself by getting drunk. And you, I warn you, will come to grief in much the same way if you string this bow. You will be given no sympathy in our part of the country. We'll pack you off in a black ship to King Echetus the Destroyer, and nothing will get you out of his clutches. Is that like the bogeyman? So drink in peace, and don't attempt to compete with men younger than yourself. But here the prudent Penelope intervened. Antinous, it is neither good manners nor common decency to show such meanness to people who come to this house as Telemachus's guests. Do you imagine that if this stranger has enough faith in his own strength and bends the great bow of Odysseus, he is going to carry me home with him and make me his wife? I don't believe he ever thought of such a thing himself. He doesn't have to, he already married you. So do not let that spoil anyone's dinner here. That is out of the question. It was Eurymachus, Polybus's son, who answered her, daughter of Icarius, wise Penelope. We do not imagine that this man will win your hand. That is out of the question. What we shrink from is what men and women will say. We don't want the common people to be saying, a poor lot, these, not up to the fine man whose wife they want to marry. They can't string his bow, but in comes some casual tramp, strings the bow with the greatest ease, and shoots through the iron rings. That is the sort of comment they will make, and that would bring disgrace on us. Eurymachus, wise Penelope retorted, no men who desecrate and destroy a great man's household can anyhow have a high reputation among the people, so why would that comment bring disgrace on you? Ooh. Our guest here is a very big and well-built man, who also claims to be of noble birth, so give him the bow now, and let us see what happens. I promise, and these are no idle words, that if Apollo answers his prayer, and he succeeds in stringing it, I shall give him a fine new cloak and tunic, a sharp javelin to keep off dogs and men, and a two-edged sword as well as sandals for his feet, and I shall see him safely to wherever he wants to go. As for the bow, mother, shrewd Telemachus interposed, there is not a single Achaean who has a better right than I to give it, or refuse it as I wish, and that applies to every chieftain here in rugged Ithaca, or in the isles off Elis, where the horses graze. There is not one of them who will override my decision, even if I make up my mind to give this bow to my guest once and for all, and let him take it away. So go to your quarters now, and attend your own work, the loom and the spindle, and see that the servants get on with theirs. The bow is the men's concern, and mine above all, for I am master in this house. It's a bit harsh, but I suppose he just wants to get her out of the way before the fighting. Penelope was taken aback, but retired to her own room, for she took her son's sensible decision to heart. Attended by her maids, she went upstairs to her bedroom, where she gave way to tears for Odysseus, her beloved husband, till bright-eyed Athene closed her eyes in sweet sleep. Meanwhile, the worthy swineherd had picked up the curved bow and was taking it along, when protests rang out from all the suitors in the hall. One of the insolent youths, expressing the general feeling, yelled, "Where are you taking that bow, you wretched swineherd? You vagabond! If Apollo and the other immortal gods favour us, the very dogs you've bred will tear you to pieces, out there among your pigs, away from everybody." Eumaeus, cowed by the angry cries in the hall, then and there put down the bow. But now Telemachus's voice came loud and menacing from the other side. "Come on, bring the bow, old fellow. You'll soon find that you can't obey us all. Take care I don't chase you up the fields with a shower of stones. I may be young, but I am more powerful than you. If only I had the same advantage in muscle over all the suitors in the place, I'd soon send them packing back where they belong, and out of this house of mine, where they hatch their ugly plots." The suitors greeted this speech with roars of hilarious laughter, which took the edge off their resentment against Telemachus. The swineherd picked up the bow, carried it down the hall to wise Odysseus, and put it in his hands. He then called the nurse Eurycleia from her quarters and said, "Eurycleia, you're sensible. Telemachus's orders are for you to lock those close-fitting doors to the women's rooms, and if anyone hears groans or any other noise from the men's part of the house, they are not to stir from their quarters, but must stay quietly where they are and get on with their work." Without a word, Eurycleia went and locked the doors leading out of the great hall. At the same time, Philoetius slipped quietly out and barred the door leading into the courtyard, which he made fast with a ship's hawser of reeds that was lying under the colonnade. This done, he went in and sat down on the stool he had left, with his eyes fixed on Odysseus. Odysseus now had the bow in his hands, and was twisting it about, bending it at both ends, in case worms had eaten into the horn in the long absence of its owner. The suitors glanced at one another and said, "Ha! Quite the expert, with a critic's eye for bows. No doubt he collects them at home, or wants to make one, judging by the way he twists it about. The old vagabond is up to no good." Another arrogant youth said, "I hope he has as much luck at that as he has chance of ever stringing the bow." While they were talking, Odysseus, master of stratagems, had picked up the great bow and checked it all over, as a minstrel skilled at the lyre and in song easily stretches the string round a new leather strap, fixing the twisted sheep gut at both ends, so he strung the great bow without effort or haste. Then with his right hand he tested the string, and it sang as he plucked it, with a sound like a swallow's note. The suitors were utterly mortified. The colour faded from their cheeks, and to mark the moment there came a thunderclap from Zeus, and Odysseus's long-suffering heart leapt up for joy at this sign of favour from the son of Cronus of the devious ways. One arrow lay loose on the table beside him. The rest, which the Achaean lords were soon to experience, was still inside their hollow quiver. He picked up this shaft, set it against the bridge of the bow, drew back the grooved end and the string together, all without rising from his stool, and with a straight aim shot. Not a single axe did he miss. From the first handle ring right through them all, and out at the last the arrow sped with its burden of bronze. Odysseus turned to his son. "Telemachus," he said, "the stranger sitting in your hall has not..." "I am on the last fucking paragraph, you dick of a dog! Get in bed." Where the fuck was I? Odysseus turned to his son. "Telemachus," he said, "the stranger sitting in your hall has not disgraced you. I did not miss the target, or make hard work of stringing the bow. My powers are unimpaired, and the suitors did me an injustice when they disparaged me. But the time has come now to get their supper ready, while it is light, and after that to pass on to the further pleasures of music and dancing, which add to the delights of a banquet." As he finished, he gave a nod, whereupon noble Odysseus' son Telemachus slung on his sharp-edged sword, and gripping his spear, took his stand by the chair at his father's side, armed with resplendent bronze.